Hi, I'm Chris. I'm one of the internal medicine vets here at Veterinary Specialist Services. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about rhinoscopy. Rhinoscopy is a procedure where we actually go up the nose with a little camera. With rhinoscopy, we often pair it with CT or MRI scan. The nose is a very complex structure that has lots of little scrolls of bone and lots of little holes and little spaces. And it's very difficult to see all of it with the camera because the camera can't get to some of the areas, particularly if all of the bones and normal structures are intact. CT or MRI allow us to have a three-dimensional view of these structures and to assess whether there's any disease or pathology in the sinuses or in parts of the nasal cavity that we may not be able to get to. The camera allows us to see the internal surface, and while we're there, assess whether there's any foreign material, any growths, any inflammation or other changes, or any evidence of things such as fungal infection. When we do the rhinoscopy, we often also will go in through the mouth and curl a camera up around the back of the nose to have a look at the back of the nasal cavity as well. With rhinoscopy, we will often choose to take biopsies. When we take the biopsies, it's important to note that inside the nose is not like other areas like the skin, for instance, where we can take a biopsy and stop the bleeding by stitching it closed. This means that we have to wait for the bleeding to stop, which it usually does just fine. It's important to note though that sometimes we'll ask to keep your pet in hospital overnight to make sure that the bleeding has all stopped and that they're not having any discharge from the nose or any other concerns after the procedure. Biopsies will then get sent away to the pathologist and results may take several days to come through. Rhinoscopy is minimally invasive and tolerated very well by our patients. Most patients have no major complications, and most patients can go home either later that night or the next morning at the latest. In conclusion, rhinoscopy allows us to visualize areas that would otherwise be very difficult to diagnose diseases. It will allow us to attain a diagnosis, or in some cases even treat an underlying condition. For nasal symptoms including snuffly nose, bleeding from the nose, nasal discharge and nasal discomfort. If you'd like to discuss rhinoscopy as a diagnostic test for your pet, or know more about the details of what's involved, please don't hesitate to speak with your vet.